In this presentation, we'll be seeing about what is polar questions in detail, how to teach polar questions, that is yes or no questions, to your children, some of the points that you need to keep in mind while teaching polar questions, and some of do's and don'ts that you need to follow. Polar questions are nothing but closed-ended questions where the expected answer is either a yes or a no. It is a very useful method to know if the child wants something or not. Basically, helps the child with choice making. It also helps the parent to understand the reason behind the child's behavior. During initial stages of development, child communicates using gestures. But when a child starts communicating verbally, asking polar questions to them prompts the child to use more words. Some of the examples of polar questions in everyday situations are you hungry? Do you want to have dosa? Do you want to go for a break? Do you have pain? Do you want to sleep now? And things like that. So, how does answering yes or no questions help the child? It helps in two ways. First thing is, it develops comprehension. That is, it reinforces whatever the child has learned so far. For example, if you ask the child, is this a car? And the child says, yes it is, then it clearly shows that the child has understood the concept. Second thing is, it helps the child to assert their choices. For example, if you ask the child, do you want to wear this shirt? And the child says no, then it clearly shows that the child denies to the choice that's been offered. So, how do we teach yes and no? First, let's see how we teach yes. Use common objects that the child is already aware of. For example, a plate, a spoon, a bottle, a watch, a bag, a table, etc. Show the item. For example, in this context, let's take a plate and ask the child, is this a plate? Say and model on Avaz, yes, this is a plate, while pointing to the word yes in Avaz. Stress on the word yes as you speak the sentence aloud. Repeat this model as many times as possible to help the child understand this. So, after numerous models, when your child starts using yes in the conversation, try to break the response into numerous small segments to develop the ongoing activity or the conversation. For example, in a situation where you and your child are having, say, a biscuit, and you ask your child, do you want more? And your child says yes. Do not give the whole packet of biscuits and get contented that your child has successfully imitated you and used yes in the conversation. Rather, you can break this activity into segments, into several small segments, and elongate the conversation, making way for the child to give more such similar responses. For example, you can say yes and give a piece of the biscuit, so that after finishing the piece, the child, you can again ask, do you want some more? And the child will come up with the answer yes. So now let us see how you teach no. Like I said before, use common objects the child is already aware of. You can point to a particular common object. For example, let's take a plate and ask the child, is this a spoon? For this, you can say and model on Avaz, saying that no, this is not a spoon, this is a plate, while pointing to the word no in Avaz. Stress on the word no as you speak the sentence aloud. You can repeat the model many times with many other objects that the child can identify. While you're teaching yes, choose preferred items for the child, and while teaching no, choose non-preferred items or objects for the child. After a few days, to try to check if the child has understood the concept, you can point to random items at home and ask. For example, you can point to a book and ask, is this a book? And see if the child says yes, it is. And in other context, you can say, is this a table? By pointing to a chair. And see if the child says, no, this is not a table, this is a chair. Now, let me tell you two main points that you need to remember while teaching polar questions. The first thing is, ask polar questions to your child only if you don't know the answer to it. For example, if your child is hungry and reaching to a particular food, for example, a packet of chips, do not snatch it away or take it away from your child and ask your child, "Are you hungry?" Second thing is that when you're teaching S and your child taps no, do not correct your child but proceed with whatever response the child has given you, because this mainly helps the child to identify the mistakes that they have made and correct themselves. For example, let us take a situation where you ask the child, "Are you sleepy?" Your child says yes, and here you reply back saying that, "Yes, I can see you rubbing your eyes. I think you're sleepy. Come, let's go to bed." In the same situation, let's say you ask the child, "Are you sleepy?" and your child says no. Then you reply to this saying, "Okay, come, then let's read a book or play a game." Here, if the child is really feeling sleepy, then the child will understand that he or she has by mistake said no and will correct themselves, will say, "Yes, I'm feeling sleepy now." So this will help them correct their response if they realize that they have made a mistake. Now, one of the do's of prompting is that ask questions that are not presumptuous, as they encourage your child to speak up and reaffirm their dignity. For example, if you ask your child, "Did you paint this yourself?" and your child says yes, it is reaffirming their dignity. Now, the don'ts that you need to keep in mind are: avoid using yes or no questions as your only way of communicating with your child. However subtle the child's expression may be, for polar questions, always respond immediately and appropriately. Now, one of the main don'ts of prompting is ambiguities. To explain more simply, sometimes even a yes or no question tends to create some confusion with respect to the subject being discussed. For example, a yes or no suggesting ambiguity. Now, let us assume an example of you pointing to a big book and asking the child, "Is this book big?" Then the child is more likely to say, "Yes, it is." But if you ask the child, "Is this book not big?" then the child is more likely to say, "No, it is not," as the question already has a no or a not part, that is a negative part in it, which conveys the meaning that the child is expected, or the question suggests a no already from the communication partner. To solve this, use a neutral tone, that is, maintain a neutral tone when you are posing questions to children. The second type of ambiguity is choice or alternative question ambiguity, where the answer to a choice question is more than a mere yes or no. For example, if you ask your child, "Would you like to wear red dress or yellow dress?" and the child says yes, you wouldn't know if the yes implies to the red dress or to the yellow dress. To solve this confusion, break the question into different parts or two different segments. First, you can ask the child, "Would you like to wear any of these two dresses?" And if the child says yes, then ask the child, "Do you like the red dress?" If the child says no, then you know that the child wants to wear the yellow one. Then you can ask, "Do you want to wear the yellow one?" If the child prefers to wear or go with the yellow one, the child will say yes. Now, the next type of ambiguity question is some polar questions that have two opposite possibilities for an answer, which can be varied based on the tone of the question that's being asked. For example, after mealtime, if you ask your child, "Did you eat your veggies or not?" there can be four different answers to this question. One can be, "Yes, I ate my veggies," or "No, I did not eat my veggies," or "Yes, I did not eat my veggies," or "No, I ate my veggies," which is more confusing. So, to avoid this, use only one variable while in a closed-ended question. For example, you can ask the child, "Have you eaten your veggies?" which has a clear-cut yes answer or a no answer.